Hey everyone, welcome back to Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I am Rob, your host, and joined by Carter, our new co-host. How you doing, Carter?
I am great.
It's fun to say that now.
Yeah, I know.
Co-host,
I know.
you know?
I really like your intro music there.
Yeah, I found that on another podcast and just thought I'd steal it.
Good, glad you stole that. Yeah, that was good.
Well, we have we're going to do a fun show tonight. We're kind of staying on the topic like we did last week's episode, which was vino. And we're going to kind of stay on the vino, but we have a guest who's going to join us tonight, and I'll let you introduce who it is.
Yeah, she's okay, I guess.
Wow.
This is my lovely wife, Yana.
Hello.
She's already giving me like dagger eyes.
I'll let everybody
these are
know.
the loving eyes.
Okay.
You haven't seen the dagger eyes yet.
Just give it some time.
She's better than okay. She's a sweet lady.
Oh yeah. No. She's awesome, and she has a very specific taste when it comes to
Men?
Everything.
everything. I wasn't gonna say men, but yes, and somehow I didn't fit any of those criteria, but I still
Didn't check any of the boxes?
maybe a couple of them.
Maybe a couple?
Yeah, like
401k?
Outstanding lover.
Okay.
That
World's
was
greatest?
World's greatest.
Need I remind you of a very interesting lyric in the Les Mis?
No, we're not going to go there. But anyway, she does have very. I think Yana is. I wouldn't say she's really. I'll let you speak, but as far as old world wine, I don't think she's had a whole lot.
No, I'm here to learn and drink.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
before we jump into it, and it is another episode on wine and another region for old world wines, I want to say thank you to all the people who are listening to the podcast, supporting the show. We really appreciate that. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, we appreciate you checking us out and listening. We hope you come back. We hope you enjoy the show tonight, and definitely go check out some of the previous episodes we've done. The podcast is all about, the world of food, wine, and whiskey, and not only what we do at our house and what we drink at our house, but going out to restaurants and distilleries and wineries and all kinds of places, just trying to cover the gamut of everything that falls into those kind of categories.
Yeah, and I'd say just a little preview. We've got some really good shows coming up.
We do have some, good
including
shows.
tonight's show.
And you kind of let it, out a little bit that we're doing an old world wine, and last week's podcast was on French wines, kind of just basics 101, just kind of learning the
Surface
regions,
level.
what comes from those regions, and just touching on again when we're in Houston, that's where our podcast is. American wine drinkers always think about the label, seeing what's in the bottle based on what's on the label.
Right.
So it says Merlot or it says Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
So you kind of have that understanding, but we need to go again that old world wines don't do that for the most part. There may be some exceptions to that, but for the most part, it's based on the region. So you knowing the region that you're in that country will give you what's in the bottle.
It seems particularly like that in Italy.
Italy and France.
And France.
Absolutely. So trying to stay, last week we did French wines because you're a Napa guy.
Yeah.
And Yana, if he's a Napa guy, that means you're a Napa girl.
Probably so, yes. Although I do prefer my passos.
Okay. Well, California Reds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say it that way.
It's true.
Let me ask you, my wife loves white wines, and then she drinks reds. She likes reds a lot, but she's really a big fan of white wines. I'll drink white wine, but I'm a big fan of red wines. As a lady, are you fall into that I really like white wine category?
I think I'm kind of in between. I started drinking red wines, and I've been drinking red wines for as long as I remember. And recently, I discovered white wines.
Just recently?
Just recently. I started drinking Sauvignon Blanc, which is like super basic, I suppose. But
Not at all.
Not
a good
at all.
Sauvignon Blanc from, New Zealand.
Yeah, it's some
Lovely.
fantastic and marble.
Lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've mentioned we're in Texas, Houston, Texas. It's really hot, so a nice cold glass of wine is amazing after a long day at work.
And from what I know about you, you're not opposed to bubbles either.
No, I love my bubbles.
I thought that's might be what you say first was white wine, got to be bubbles.
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
She's gotten on this
Pink
Sauvignon
has to
Blanc
be bubbles, though.
type of kick, but I think you have actually had some of the like traditional Sauvignon Blanc from the old world, from like Laurie or whatever, where it's like more oak aged, type Sauvignon Blanc, and we have liked those. So anyway, so maybe you've had a little old world toe dip.
Now, white doesn't have to be bubbles. Pink has to be bubbles.
Pink has to be bubbles?
To
You don't
me,
like
yes.
just a regular rosé?
You don't like rosé? Like a flat?
I mean,
rosé?
it's not. I'll drink just about anything except for tequila, but pink bubbles definitely my thing.
That's your okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, don't they call like so Lambrusco in Italy?
Oh, that's disgusting.
Well, a lot of people say say that because there was a big thing.
Prosecco.
Yeah, a big the Lambrusco thing
Prosecco.
just really went crazy in like the 60s or 70s or something like that, where it's like just really sweet wines.
So
but
sweet.
They have a lot drier versions of Lambrusco. Not dry. It's going to be a sweet wine, but it's more of a small like bubble. I think they call it like spumante or something like that.
I've never had it, so.
But anyway, that might be kind of interesting to try. But
Yeah.
I would try it again, but my first and only experience with it was it's like bubbly sugar with red coloring. That was
and
my
a lot of
It
people-
was
experience.
that sweet.
Yes, it was
Really?
awfully sweet to me.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're going off at a tangent there, but the real star of the show tonight is
Super Tuscan wines. And trying to kind of branch out to Italy, since we did some French wines last time. But Italy, one of my favorite countries to get wine from, and Tuscany, one of my favorite, probably my favorite region within Italy to drink wine from. And I thought, Super Tuscans kind of bring some of those varietals that you guys are used to drinking in Napa still, like we talked about on the last podcast. But it's another kind of, the terroir is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
The winemakers, their process still a little different. So it's just fun to kind of keep exploring the world of wines, and Tuscany's next up on our list. And people hear the word or the name Super Tuscan for a wine, and I think most people automatically think of Sassicaia or Teganillo or, wines like that, these big, bold, expensive wines, highly rated, highly sought after, and they should be. They're delicious. They're outstanding. But in that category, there's other wines that, are very affordable that are also delicious and fun to drink. So I thought we would go through and try a few. What I brought, that we actually have some wines in the glass right now. We can talk about these as we talk about this region. But Al Paso is one of my favorite wines. Tolani is the producer. And I have a 2012 that I opened and a 2016. And I thought it would be fun to compare these two, not just because they're different vintages, and we know that each vintage can be different just based on the weather that particular year and things, but they actually changed up their percentages of different grapes in these two varietals. So the 2012 and 14 was 85% Sangiovese, 15% Merlot, but in 16 and in the new 17, they changed it to 34% Sangiovese, 33% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 33% Merlot. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of those, hits your palate a little better.
The more like, well divided, it seems like that's kind of the Super Tuscan deal, having the Sangiovese at like a 30% and then having the other two at kind of equal or close to equal proportions seems to be the normal.
In some cases. I mean, I hate to say normal because there's some, like Sassicaia, and we're going to get into this, they don't even use Sangiovese.
That's true.
And some don't. So I think let's just talk about, how did Super Tuscans come to be? How did that come about? And I'm impressed with you, Carter, because we talked about this topic, and I made a bunch of notes about, kind of the area and the region, and you went and did a bunch of homework, man. You called me and started talking and said, hey, man, I've researched this a little bit. I got some knowledge to...
Man, you can really get down the Italian wine rabbit hole. Big time. And what's... I watch a lot of YouTubes and things like that. I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. And so... I like to be educated about it, and I didn't know a whole lot about Super Tuscans going into it. I feel like I still probably don't know nearly enough, but from what I do know, it's a relatively recent thing, meaning, in the 70s or late 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
That the whole, like, bringing other grapes from France to blend in with the Sangiovese.
Yeah, and if we talk about the region and kind of how this came about, when you think Tuscany for wines, most people, the first thing they think of for the longest time is Chianti, which is made with Sangiovese, and then Brunello, which is, Brunello di Montalcino, which is made with Sangiovese Grosso, a clone of the Sangiovese grape. So these are the two main ones. Now we have some other regions in there, Vino Noble and other places, within Tuscany, but those are the two well-known for what gets distributed, I'll say globally.
Yeah.
Where people, when you say Tuscany, you think Chianti and you think Brunello.
Yeah.
And so, like old world wines, or like France in the old world, they have the AOC that kind of regulates and gives standards and how you have to do it.
Right.
Certain regions can only, if you make wine in this region, you can only use these grapes. And so Italy has the same thing. There's this DOC and DOCG that says if you're going to make a Chianti, you have to use this much Sangiovese, this much of an indigenous white grape, and then you might have a small percentage that you can use of something else that's indigenous to Italy.
Right.
And Brunello has their rules and so on and so forth. And if you wanted to make something outside of that, those parameters, based on aging and things like that are also in there, then it was classified as a table wine, which would be the lowest, on the VDT, which is just a vino for the table.
IGT or
well,
whatever.
they hadn't had the IGT yet. So before the IGT came to be, it was VDT, which is Vino da Tavola, which is just wine for the table.
Yeah, and they still have that classification.
They still have that classification.
I mean, we don't see any of those wines because those,
that's going to be the wine if you go.
Because they come in a box.
Well, maybe.
And if you go to Italy and you go into a little place to get a meal or something, they're going to put that little wine bottle out there for you for free. That's going to be probably just a table wine.
Yeah,
more than likely.
Yeah.
So that's what that would probably be. And sometimes that's still decent wine, good to drink. Some people,
I mean,
that's pretty good.
Might be good pizza wine or something.
It just didn't go through all the rules to get the classification. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad wine. Now, Chianti in its history went through a period of time after World War II, because it used to be thought of as just a very high-end wine. When you thought about wine, you're drinking a Chianti. You were you were high class, so to speak. Well, Chianti went through where they started making their wine as kind of a table wine.
Yeah, like a mass-produced.
It was called Fiasco. It was put in like a big bottle, looked like a genie bottle with like this bamboo around it.
It's like a woven basket thing.
Yeah, held it. You can still see them in wine stores today, and they're like $9.99 still. You know? And it went through that period of just kind of promoting itself that way, and it lost that luster of being that high-end wine. Now, over the years now, they've kind of come back from that and gotten the reputation back of making some really good wines. And then Brunello has just been Brunello. I mean, it's just fantastic, and they've been good all along. But Chianti, when you think about Chianti, it's a region, and then as you get smaller within that region, you get to Chianti Classico.
That's right.
And then that, anytime you get smaller within a region, you think you're going to get better fruit and better quality, so better wine in the bottle. And then you go to a Reserva, and Reserva just means that it's aged another year.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a little bit more quality to the wine when it comes to the bottle and you start drinking it. So this is kind of what Tuscany's been known for. Like I said, there's some other regions around there, but this is really Chianti and Brunello has kind of been the king there.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, like, you go just like a regular Chianti, like I think it's 70% Sangiovese is what they have to use or something like that. And then you get to the Chianti Classico, which uses, I think, have to have 85% or something of that nature in there. So it's interesting how the rules kind of are different for...
Aging's different.
Aging's different, everything. So it's a lot to kind of remember. So it's kind of nice to do a nice overview of a region rather than, hey, here's Italian wines, everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a grasp on that.
And Brunello has longer aging period in the barrel and in the bottle than Chianti, Classico, or Reserva, any of them.
Yeah.
So it's that next step up. Not to say there's not some fantastic Chianti, Classico, Reservas. There are. But Brunello's, to me, or you asked me earlier, what's your favorite wine? I said something that's affordable somewhat is Brunello. That's going to be my favorite. You can find some great ones from the region around, but that's my favorite.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about how did Super Tuscans come to be, we go, man, okay. So they got all these rules. Why did Super Tuscans, start to be made and happen? Well, when you think about Bordeaux, where we have the varietals that we're going to talk about, which is your Bordeaux varietals with the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot, the Petit Verdot, the Malbec, and the Cab Franc, where they are on the river, and then the left bank where Cabernet is, they're they're right out next to the water there on the ocean. That's kind of the geography, and they have the granite soil on that side and all of that. If you look at Napa Valley, they're in the valley, but to the left, if you go west of them, there's the ocean. That same kind of cool climate coming off the ocean, warmer during the day, real cool at night.
Yeah.
Similar type. Well, when you go to Italy, when you get within Chianti and these other areas, they don't have that type of climate. So Sangiovese grows real well, and it does really well.
Yeah.
As far as being made to a high quality. But there's some areas in Tuscany when you start getting to, and I want to make sure I say this right, because some of these pronunciations, I'm English, I'm an American, so I speak English. So saying these right, if I butcher it, just forgive me. But it's like Miramar is an area, and Bulgari is in that area, in that region. And they're set up in that similar type of climate where they're right on the coast, next to the ocean. They have the same type of weather going on, as well as the granite type of soil for growing those kind of grapes. And so winemakers there started going, hey, hold on a second. Sangiovese doesn't do well in this weather, in this soil.
Yeah.
And if I continue just to make that, I'm not going to produce anything that blows anybody away because it just doesn't do well.
Yeah.
And what does do well? And the Bordeaux varietals do well. So you had Tanata San Guido, who in 1948 started producing wines in this area. And he started making a table wine just for his house. And that table wine is called Sassicaia.
Yeah, which is one of the, one of the most famous wines, out of the.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually never had it, but I mean, I'd like to try it.
Well, we will.
It's a big spend.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's like a couple $100, right? Or
$250, $280 a bottle.
Yeah. It's a big spend.
So he made this for a number of years and didn't try to sell it, but his nephew and his son in 1968 said, hey, man, this is great wine you're making.
Yeah.
You need to sell it. So 1971 was the first release of that, and it did really well.
Yeah.
And that particular wine, it's the same every year. They've done it the same every year. It's 85% Cabernet Sauvignon, 15% Cab Franc.
Sounds like my kind of wine.
There you go. It is absolutely as you young people say, it's a banger.
Yeah, it is. Apparently. So I've heard.
So that's kind of what started and initiated the starting that Super Tuscan kind of identification for wine. Right. And just so you know, Super Tuscan is not a legal or a formal name. It's just something. You mentioned it earlier. They actually in the 1992 is when they actually identified making the wines using outside what DOC and DOCG specified for that region. Using Cab Sauv and Cab Franc and things like that. They came up with their own identification for that, which is IGT. So they call it Toscana IGT. So Tuscany. Kind of a table wine.
Yeah.
It's a higher end. It's a step up from the the VDT.
Yeah.
But they still consider it a table wine.
But it's interesting. I mean, if you were just, kind of ignorant on everything, but somebody had told you, oh, DOC, DOCG is what you need to look for, you would pass these wines by every time.
You're
right?
exactly right. Because if you look at a DOC or a DOCG, it's always on the neck.
Yeah, it's on the neck.
You see that
It's
wrap that's on there, and you go,
pronounced,
okay, that's a good wine. DOCGs, a lot of times, too, you'll see the black cock. Not that, the chicken.
Yeah, yeah. But in, with wines like these, which can be just as good, if not better,
A lot of people would say they're better.
Yeah.
The higher end ones.
Yeah.
Are thought to be better. But you're exactly right. If you don't know what you're looking for, and that's kind of the point of this podcast, because I think a lot of people don't, they think Super Tuscan, and they think, well, I can't afford.
Super expensive?
Yeah, I can't afford Tiganillo or Sassicaia or Nelia or some of these other big end wines.
I don't know. I just texted Alessia. I was like, hey, where can I find a bottle of Sassicaia? She's like, ooh, fancy woman.
Oh, yeah. See? It's your friend from Italy.
It is my friend from Italy.
Yeah. So 1992 is when they gave the designation of IGT.
Yeah.
And so they said, okay, you guys can start making these wines. And it was thought the wines blew, and this is no surprise to anybody, people in Italy, in Tuscany, didn't go, these are great, right? They went, nah, man, we drank Chianti and we drank Brunellos and Vino Nobile. We don't drink this table wine.
Right.
Well, so it got, distributed outside the country, and a lot of it came to the U.S., and it became very, very popular, and it was sought after. And it was actually Robert Parker, if you guys know who he is. He's a very well-known wine critic who actually gave the term, or he's credited with it anyway. I can't say I verified this, but he's credited with giving it the name Super Tuscan.
Yeah.
And people started to go, well, IGT doesn't sound like, elegant and classy.
It
and
certainly doesn't
make me want to pick up a bottle. Hey, did you get that IGT?
Yeah, right. I mean,
It sounds like something in the bourbon world.
It sounds like something you need to get checked out.
Yeah.
I got the IGT.
Oh, you're itching?
Yeah.
Does it smell bad?
So he said, this is more like a Super Tuscan. And it stuck. And if you think about it, it makes sense, for those big, bold wines. It's a Super Tuscan.
Right.
So that's kind of where it came from. That's the background on how Super Tuscans came to be. And what's interesting to me is in 1994, Sassicaia now was granted its own DOC. So it actually has a DOC now from the government, the administration, the governing body of wines in Italy.
Oh, okay.
As their own, they're the only ones that have their own estate as a DOC.
That's interesting. Well, like I said, I've never had this wine or never owned a bottle, so I don't know if I've seen a wrap on it before.
Yeah, exactly. So I say that's a little history of how Super Tuscans came to be. You guys have any input? Anything else you want to add to that?
I mean,
before we dive into these, what's in the bottle and start talking, what's in the glass and start talking about what we're drinking?
I just think it's super cool that you can, like Sassicaia, for example, doesn't even use a grape from the region. Yet it's,
that's indigenous to that region.
Indigenous to the region. And then they still make this fantastically highly sought after wine,
It just goes to show you that, you can't tell we're in Texas, we're in the Houston area. And I always think about when Texas first started trying to make wine.
Yeah.
They all thought they had to make Cabernet Sauvignon because in Napa, everybody was buying that. So if they thought if we're going to be successful in Texas, we got to make cabs because that's what people want.
Yeah.
There's
awful.
No water.
They're garbage. They're trash.
Yeah. The only good ones come from where they have 98% California grapes.
Yeah, they're sourced.
Like
yeah, and slap a Texas label on it.
Yeah.
But they finally figured out, and give them credit for starting to do it the right way, what kind of weather do we have here? What kind of terroir, soils and things do we have here? And they started making wines like Tempranillo that are more conducive to the elements and things that they're in. And that's what I think, the guys in the regions that do the Super Tuscans figured out and said, hey, we can't make Sangiovese. We've got to do something that's more in line with what we have to deal with weather and soil. And
hey,
made sense.
You're dealt a certain hand. You should play to your strengths. You
Absolutely.
So I think that's fantastic. Plus, I mean, I like all those grapes from France. So, yeah.
And that's another reason we're kind of jumping into Italy a little bit, breaking you into a little Sangiovese. But you've had Sangiovese before.
Yeah.
But staying with some of the other grapes that I know you guys like, just to see what you think of how this region does with those types of grapes compared to what you usually have from California. I'm not going to say Napa. See how I did that, Yana?
I see
California.
that. I see that.
Because you can get some great Syrahs and stuff from Paso.
Yeah.
I mean, they make some great GSMs there.
Well, like one of the, I mean, people would go, stick their nose up at, I guess it's more maybe traditionalist, within Italy or whatever, that potentially stick their nose up at a Super Tuscan because it's not indigenous grapes or like whatever. I mean, everything, they must hate California because...
I think they probably don't look at California as hard as they do their own land for that very reason. They say, in Italy, you're supposed to do it this way. California can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They go, okay, that's fine in California. That's fine in France. But in Italy, we're supposed to make wine this way. And
I bet when these wines first came out, just kind of I have no idea. But like to your point, the Italians are, I mean, they're such traditionalists when it comes to their food and their wine. And like everything has to be, this is the way, that we do it. I could see them just looking right past this stuff.
Well, and I think a big part of it, too, is if you, like you said earlier, if you don't get that DOC or DOCG classification, people think it's a lesser quality product in the bottle.
Yeah.
And, that kind of influences you to what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy. And I think people in Italy initially thought this isn't quality. I think now that I'm sure, I mean, I've not been to Italy and I don't know, but I can't imagine with the world-renowned wines that are being produced in this style that they're not going, I'm sure they're embracing it going, yeah, baby, that's our wine. That's Italy.
Now everybody likes a winner.
Yeah, jump on board, bandwagon.
But anyway, so we've got some great looking wine in front of us right now.
Yeah, so like we talked about, a lot of people think I think they hear Super Tuscan, and to what you said, Yana, they think expensive.
Yeah.
And we want to go over some wines that we have on the table tonight that aren't that expensive, that are really good wines in that Super Tuscan kind of.
Some may even call them super wines.
I mean, they're from Tuscany. They're super.
Yeah, I mean, it is like the coolest term ever, though. Super Tuscan. It's like, whoa, that sounds like a Marvel character.
I mean, there's not a better name for a class of wine than Super Tuscan. I mean, it makes you. I mean, even in when you think about Napa wines and they go, it's an estate wine. Okay, yeah,
cool, but Super Tuscan,
yeah,
dude.
Call it a super estate. Maybe you got me, but Super Tuscan.
See, the Italians got you there.
They got me there. They win.
Yeah, exactly. So
credit Robert Parker, an American.
Yeah,
you're welcome, Italy.
Hey,
Hey, Italy won the Super Bowl. Not the Super Bowl, the Euro Cup.
They won the Euro begrudgingly.
Their Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, kind of
is.
I mean,
of Europe, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the El Paso, been in the glass at least 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
2012, which is the 85% Sangiovese, 15% Merlot. And then we've got a 2016, same wine, but they changed it up and went 34% Sangiovese, 33% Cabernet Sauvignon, 33% Merlot. So what do you guys think on the nose initially?
Man, the 2000, couldn't be more different. I mean, really just couldn't be more different. To me, like the 2012 with the higher percentage of the Sangiovese, it's coming off a lot more leathery, having like maybe almost a slight tobacco kind of note on the nose.
I get that. I get a little more floral on it.
Yeah, that too.
And to me, my initial impression is delicate. This is a kind of delicate wine when I nose it.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of appear that way, and particularly it comes across that way when you have this comparison.
Yes,
which is big fruit. Like it
punches you.
It's big.
Yeah. This to me reminds me. This is the 16, which is the 3.
Yeah.
Reminds me more of what you're going to get out of Napa when you nose it. It tastes. It noses like something that would come big and bold out of Napa.
Yeah, I mean a lot of the like blackberry, almost
plum,
almost a little blueberry, kind of in there.
Black cherry.
It's really nice, but I mean it's all fruit.
I love the nose. I like both of these noses very much. They're just totally different.
I'm a whiskey guy first, probably.
For now.
But what
we're
say,
gonna change him, Yana.
This is like comparing an OBSQ from Four Roses.
Okay, I see where you're going.
To like an OESO.
Okay,
like something that's just really, But the leather,
the Q being your tobacco, so they understand that's going to be
more that kind of thing, and
leather.
And your O's tend to get like more the cherries and the fruity qualities and things like that. But anyway, as I digress. But I do, as far as the color too on these, I mean, just take a look. I mean, it's just in appearance wise, it's the Jairo Sangiovese like 2012 is much lighter.
Yeah, you can put it against the light and you can really see
I've got
rim
some here. Yeah, it's definitely a world of difference. Yeah.
The 12 is actually starting to get a little bit of that brown tint, around the rim.
It's interesting. It smells like milder.
That's why I said a little more delicate.
Yeah.
Not as big and
Oh, I also have like zero sense of smell. So.
Because sometimes that's lucky for me.
That's a good one.
So which one do we drink first? Which one do we try first?
I would go from the lighter to the bigger, bolder.
Okay.
And just so you don't come from a big bold to a lighter.
The legs, though.
This is great radio.
I can edit right there.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is just it's got a lot of that. It's a lighter wine for sure. You can tell. I think the nose translates to the palate pretty well. All things considered. Like the it's got nice tartness to it. Guess that's something that's normal in Chianti. I guess I don't know.
I still get a little more red fruit on that one. On the palate.
Yeah.
Than the darker fruit on the, which I think is delicious. I still get like you said, the leather.
Yeah.
The little bit of the tobacco. Mm-hmm. Those kind of notes are definitely there. The floral I get.
Yeah, definitely that. Mm. You get
it's like a red currant. I get a little bit of that.
Yeah, and it kind of it is fairly. It lingers a while, which is nice. I don't know that this. It's going to be interesting when we try some of these things with food, because I'm curious, how it holds up.
Yeah.
We're having a little bit more of a fattier meal tonight than probably what we need for this wine. But
yeah, I think it'll still hold up all right.
Yeah,
I think the Sangiovese will still hold up just fine. Mm-hmm. To that, I think it'll be interesting to see what you think about both of these. They're going to be.
This is enjoyable. I think this particular the 2012. You could drink. I mean, that could be something you drank all night, and it would be fantastic.
And this is, I always say old world wines go better with food.
Yeah.
And they do. And there's some old world wines that I don't like on their own, but they're fantastic with food. But these two are two that I love with food, but I also can just, like you just said, drink them on their own. They hold up on their own very well.
Yeah. It's just a nice, drinkable wine. And what would this set you back like when you bought it?
Both of them, $22.
Yeah, I mean,
Each.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's what I'm
Not
saying.
at all.
You're getting a Super Tuscan that is this quality in the glass for $22. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
And do each of you have a favorite on the nose and a favorite on the palate? Or
I haven't tried the other one yet.
Okay.
I haven't tried the younger one with the different grapes. But that's really enjoyable. Now,
That's the 12.
yeah. Now I'm going to the 16.
Okay.
I'm
You're going up in age.
I'm ready for this.
You're almost legal. Nobody. Okay.
I mean, in Texas, it's it's 16 the limit. I don't know. See, I don't know how. See,
Edit.
yeah, that's really nice.
That's pretty good.
I like that a lot.
Dark cherry. I taste dark cherry there.
Cherry,
Get that black cherry on this one.
like almost a
Little plum there.
yeah. That it's almost got kind of a. I don't know if it's just the effect on the tongue or whatever, but it almost has like a little chocolate, thing
I was going to say
on.
chocolate, and I still get a little oak off the barrel.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's nice. How long do they age these wines in a barrel? Like, it varies, or
These should be like 18 months is what I think
Okay.
they are. I'd have to look it up to verify, but I think these are 18 months in barrel.
that's something you always got to check
And
with
probably-
Italian
yeah.
wines. Like how long do you age it? How long is it? This or that? What is it aged in?
I don't think there's any, with IGT, I don't think there's any specifications that they have to follow, not like the DOC and DOCG, but I think these are probably right around that 18-month mark in the barrel.
So $22. I like both of these wines.
Yeah?
I do. I really do. And these, and I particularly like this 16. I think this is
That's more your profile.
yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to be curious with food. And these might be 2 years in oak as well. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But
Well, what's interesting, this drinks, and I say this, the 2016 drinks more like an apple wine, but you kind of get the little essence of Old World, the little essence of the
earth and everything.
Yeah,
that's in
yeah,
there.
It's not like just big
Fruit
jammy fruit bomb type.
That's kind of, and you guys have heard me say this to you before. A lot of Napa wines, they're good, but they're just kind of single note, meaning big fruit. Some of them have the tannins where they can age and things, but these to me just have more balance and structure to them. They seem more finesse, like there's just.
I'm getting some tannins on the 16.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and I wonder if like with some age that would mellow out a little bit.
I've got several more in the fridge. We're going to let age for a little while, so
Mellow
we'll
out.
check in a couple years.
Yeah, but some people really like that tannic thing. I kind of tend to be one of those type of people that really likes it.
You like it when it grips the side?
Yeah,
of
I
your-
like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Dries you out a little
Yeah,
bit. Okay.
I enjoy that because I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But then I have an appreciation for lower tannin wines too. But this is.
I like that when I have a couple more bottles in the fridge and I go, okay, I can let these sit for a little while
Yeah.
longer. I don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
worry
yeah.
about drinking them up. So.
Right.
And that's the other thing I like about, old world wines. Even when you don't spend hundreds of dollars, you get something in that $20 to $50 range. They still age well,
Just the economist in me is curious, like what these wines would cost in Italy as opposed to over in the United States.
I bet they're similar.
Probably. I was thinking to my, it's like one of those things that I almost think of like the Scotch thing.
Yeah.
Because like in Scotland, apparently, and I don't know this to be a fact, but in Scotland they pay more for like Scotch
Then we pay
whiskey than we pay here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why?
There are taxes and things like that are on
And they avoid that because they're not selling it there. It's coming here, so they don't have to pay the tax.
Yeah.
And we don't have to pay that.
So I wonder, I'm just curious if it's like that with wine. I mean, if there's excess taxes or something like that.
When we go to Italy, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, damn straight. I can't wait. But yeah, I mean, both of these are killer.
So 16 is your favorite right now without having food. 12 you like. But,
I like it.
How about you, Yana?
This is like an appetizer wine for me, and this would be like more of a like.
So the 12 is an appetizer wine.
And 16 is like it has more to me.
Depending on what you're eating. Okay.
You know, she mentions that, and you know, I'm even thinking this to myself. This 12, it could really it could prime the pump for like a great, you know, if you had like a big wine coming next or something, that would be a great way to prep your palate, you know?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said start with that, because the other one would just make this one.
Yeah.
It would just shrink it. Yeah. You know, it wouldn't have anything to it. So, what do you say? Should we get a little food in front of us? Try this with food?
Yeah.
And see what we think there?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's do that. We're going to grab a bite, try these wines with a little food. We'll be right back and tell you what we think.
Oh, yeah. And Rob can judge my food extremely harshly.
Well, you said mine was crap last week. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Who made this crap?
I know. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, we're back.
We are back.
The magic of podcasting. I mean, to the listener, it's like no time passed, but for us, we sat, we kind of enjoyed the wines with a great dinner. Thank you, Yana. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, of course.
We were like 2 pounds heavier each.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, I think it really changed my opinion about the wines as well. I mean, I think I liked them to begin with, but with food,
yeah,
kind of even better.
Makes a difference. I mean, I used to be, when I first got into wines, I was always of that mindset that does it really make a difference? You know, do you really need to, can you really see a change in the wine or your experience or enjoyment of the food just by pairing the two? And I used to question that a lot. Now I don't, and I'm getting more into trying to understand types of wines that go with types of foods, because I've started to see they, you know, putting them together really makes you enjoy both a little bit more.
I agree completely. I think that these wines really stood up well, both of them in their own regard, against the food that we had. And so just so everybody knows what we ate, we had like a braised short rib with some potatoes and a little tomato mozzarella salad type thing. I can't ever figure out how to say it. Do you say caprese or do you say caprice?
I say caprese.
You say caprese? I say caprese. I don't even know what I say now. I think I'm confusing myself.
I don't know. Well, anyway, that's kind of what we had. So, which
was delicious.
And I think the wines, I was surprised actually how well the 2012 kind of held up. Considering the food that we ate, it actually did quite well.
Yeah, I thought they both did well, but I would say that the 2012, which is the 85% Sangiovese, I thought was better paired with the balsamic and the tomato and the basil and the caprese salad. Still did all right with the short rib and the potatoes, but then I thought the 2016, which is that, you know, even split pretty much of Sangiovese, Cabernet.
The Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity.
Of Italian wines.
Well, not
really.
I thought it went well, but I thought it really shined with the short rib.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, I agree with you. What was great is I thought that those nice, you know, acidic notes from the salad really paired extremely well with that 2012 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really just sung out there. I thought that was great. And in fact, I liked the wine to begin with, but when I was eating it with this, drinking it while eating the salad, I thought it was even better. Yeah.
So on the show, we're going to have to start kind of doing more things where we try to really explore wines with food.
I wonder how, and I haven't done this experiment too much with like Napa wines, but I almost wonder like, how does that work? You know,
I know with like a big fat ribeye, any of their big bold Napa cabs go well.
Yeah,
they got plenty of tannins and cut through that fat and things like that. But that's really all I think of. There's not other dishes I think of that I can pair a wine from Napa that would go with it well.
Yeah.
Other than a white wine, you know, if you're going to have a Sauvignon Blanc with some seafood or something like that.
Yeah, that would work.
But I mean, what about like your regular braised short rib?
Well, again, we're getting into the
bigger wine, the bigger calves.
Yeah, I mean, I would say anything with a red meat, you're fine with a cab or a cab franc, a Syrah, something like that would all go well.
Yeah.
But other than a red meat kind of meal, tell me another dish. You know, I'm thinking chicken, or if you're going to do a salmon or something like that, that you go, this wine would go well. Because I'm not a big fan of Pinot Noir. Coming out of California. There's a couple in Oregon I like, but for the most part, I'm not a big fan of that. So it's hard for me to find wines. Now, I'm sure there's people out there in Napa, don't beat us up, that go, hey, you guys are idiots. There's great, you know, foods and dishes that go with this wine, this wine, this wine. I just don't know what they are.
I mean, it's Zinfandel maybe with like a pork or something like that.
Well, Zinfandel with pizza is fantastic.
Yeah, that's very
Bubbles
good.
And pizza
well,
is
I know
fantastic.
We need to have a whole different episode on our guilty pleasures there.
But when you say pork, I think barbecue, and then I start thinking Syrah. Syrah with the big barbecue or something, or a Malbec with some barbecue.
That would be good.
Like but again, we're on that kind of mostly red meat with briskets and things like that, but you can get some pork.
But what about something like a lasagna, right? Yes, it's red meat, but it's also like doughy and fatty and cheesy and gooey and delicious.
I guess if I'm going to do a lasagna, I'm probably going to do something from Italy to go with it. You know?
Yeah.
Like the Super Tuscan that's like cab and cab.
Oh, you know what?
So I'm just saying, you know what I mean? If I do Asian food, I like red Burgundy with that. You know?
Yeah. I do think a lasagna would go extremely well with some of these Super Tuscans.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, it's like bold on top of bold, sprinkled with more bold.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the Sangiovese grape is though. I mean, and not that it has to be in every Super Tuscan, but like it is in a good bit of Super Tuscans in small percentages.
Yeah, and it's a very well thought of. I mean, it's a great varietal. It makes fantastic wine. So it's not like some chump that you're just adding in. It stands up on its own.
Well, to my knowledge, the Sangiovese, the grape itself, is really worldwide only grown in Tuscany. Yeah.
For the most part. It's funny that, you know, Napa now, there's some producers who are bringing in vines of Sangiovese.
They're trying that in Napa?
They're actually making wines that are 100% Sangiovese. So, Deldato's one of them.
Okay.
A winemaker out there who's making a Sangiovese. And honestly, they make a pretty good one. It's expensive, more expensive than what you're going to pay for, you know, a good Brunello or a Chianti Classico Reserva, but they are making them. All right, so these two wines, you liked them before. You liked them with the food.
Yeah.
A little bit better with the food?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Both of them.
And because of the meal we had, you think the 16 went better because it has that blend of the Cab and the Merlot, where the other one is just 85% Sangiovese, 15% Merlot.
I think that the 16 really cut through with the, you know, the potatoes and the meat and the fats and things like that. But with the salad, I mean, I just think the 12 was perfect.
Yeah, I think they're both really good. I like the 12 a lot. I'll drink it quite a bit when I have something with a red sauce.
Yeah,
because of the acidity and the tomatoes and stuff. To me, the Sangiovese goes well with that acidity.
I was thinking like a pizza, like a margarita pizza or something like that. You know, something that doesn't have like a ton of sauce, but just like a nice light sauce on it. Something, you know, I think it would go.
Yeah.
Very well.
What kind of wine would you pair with like something like a pesto sauce? Very herby, very earthy, like nutty and delicious.
Ooh, I don't know. I might do probably a white.
I'm always torn. Like when I go to an Italian restaurant and I order something with pesto sauce, I'm like, oh, well, what's the good wine to go with that?
Yeah, I know, because pesto is quite a bit bolder than, you know, what you would consider like a normal seafood
This is
dish.
where I don't know a lot about pairings. You know, I just try to go. I'm starting to get into that a little bit, but my experience is it's minimal.
I mean, Rob knows all the famous chefs in Houston, so I'm sure we could get one on to pair food with.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Very good idea. Well, and the point of this kind of call it an exercise tonight was just to talk about Super Tuscan wines. We talked about like we said, the big players in that world of Super Tuscan. But just to show that there's examples of, like we said, these are $22 a piece here in the Houston market. They shouldn't be much more than that, say, give or take, plus $3 to $5 in other markets, something like that. Less than $30 for sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic wines.
Yeah.
You really can't beat it. And so we're trying to demonstrate that there's great wines out there underneath that, Toscana IGT, a.k.a. Super Tuscan classification, that are really good wines for a good value.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one that I wanted to mention, here in Houston, we have a friend who is Jeremy Hart. He's a huge wine guy. He used to work for the importer Banville.
Yeah.
He worked with this producer to come up with, how to market and label on this wine and get it out so that people would try it a little bit more. And I thought he did a great job. I mean, It's called Legit, and a lot of people listening who, if you're into Italian wines, you may know this one. It's a IGT Toscana, but it's Cabernet Sauvignon heavy, and he helped develop the label and market it that way. And if you go into our stores here, like Kroger or H-E-B or whatever, because it says Cabernet Sauvignon, guess where they put it?
With the California wines.
With the California wine.
Yeah.
Where it's an Italian wine. If you go to the Italian section, it's, this isn't there.
Right.
So it's funny that these are, wine stewards in these grocery stores who still look at this label and go, oh, it's Cab. Because most Italian wines don't have that on there. Most Italian wines just say the region.
Yeah.
If it has a Cabernet on there, you usually go, that's a North American wine.
Well, it also has the Legit is the name of the wine.
Yeah.
And is that is that an Italian word? No, I don't think so.
It depends on how you read it.
He found this picture, he said, on an old record. This is some musician.
Oh,
and he liked it so much, he got permission to use it for the label. And I thought, man, he was trying to make it hip and cool with Cabernet so that people who just thought they liked Napa Valley wine would actually go, well, let me try this. It's $35, which is not it's not a hugely expensive wine, and go home and go, that's fantastic. And at some point through that process and that journey, go, well, crap, this isn't a Napa wine or a California wine. This is from Italy.
Yeah.
And realize, well, okay, crap, I kind of like Italian wine too. To kind of help them because too many people go, I don't know anything about Italian wine. I don't want to try it.
So a little bit of trickery is what
he's trying to trick them a little bit. But I will tell you, in 2020, this is the 13 vintage. In 2020, this was in the top 100 wines in the world. And when you talk about globally, this being in the top 100, and I think it might have been in the top 75, if I'm trying to remember exactly where it landed, but somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it's $35. I mean, you're getting a top 100 wine in the world.
For $35.
You can't beat that.
That's amazing.
It gets back to what we talk about sometimes, that, price doesn't always equate to quality. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
But just because it's less expensive doesn't mean it's not good quality, and just because it's real expensive doesn't mean it is good quality.
One of our favorite Proseccos is an Italian DOCG Prosecco. It's a Carpene Malvolti, and it's $14 or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
No, and it's so good. You've tried it. We brought it over.
I'm sure I have.
We can have a whole, episode about Prosecco,
Bubbles in general.
Bubbles in general, but
now that Sandra can drink bubbles.
Now
there you go. There you go.
She's back on.
But and there are certainly processes that are implemented in Italy when it comes to Prosecco that are slightly different than in France, as
champagne.
Far as with champagne and sparkling being more instead of vat treated, as far as with bubbles and that kind of thing, they do more in the bottle type of natural second fermentation or whatever. Right. But I mean, there's some fantastic Proseccos out there.
Absolutely.
No doubt. But anyway, and I think that this bottle, going back to the Legit bottle here,
it's too legit to quit.
I've tried it. really liked it a lot. And it's a great bottle that you can bring to a party, confuse a lot of people, and surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a great way to say it.
You know.
All right. Well, let's move on from Legit and the two El Pasos, and let's go. So when we talked about doing this episode, I said, Matt, might be fun because you're not into the old world a lot.
Yeah.
To go out and go buy a Super Tuscan, in that category. Try to stay, $35 or less.
Yeah.
And, see what you buy, and then let's talk about what made you buy this bottle. So you bought one.
Yeah.
You opened it up.
Yeah. And so we're all going to try it.
Here we go. Floor is yours. Tell us what was the process here?
So I went to, I was at the office today, and near my office is a Total Wine. So I said, hey, I'm going to pop in here and just see what I can find. Went to the Tuscany, designated area of the Italian wine section. And I just started looking at looking at the Super Tuscan type wines, and I saw this, and I said, "Well, this looks cool."
That's
it's
a cool
Tell
bottle.
everybody what you did like. It's what?
That's a cool bottle.
Yeah, because it's got okay. So the name of it, and I'm probably going to butcher the hell out of it, so I apologize. Regina de Ranieri. Would be like
Sounds good to me.
Ranieri.
yeah, what she said. Anyway, so it has like this cool little crown on the top of it. I thought was kind of neat. And I'm a fan of blue, so this.
I was
As you
thinking,
can tell, a lot of thought process went
it
into
really is.
selecting
I really
that
thought about it.
bottle.
I thought he was going to really impress the listeners with, well, I found this one. I looked it up. I found out the grapes that were in it. I looked at the age, the vintage and I thought he was going to give this real technical kind of.
No, it's the
here's
crown
how
and
I
the
made my
blue.
decision, and it's all about the bottle.
Well, I mean,
It's the crown and the blue.
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Like you said, just let's go out and get one. And I didn't really do a ton of research or anything like that, but I did. I wanted a Super Tuscan that had some Sangiovese in it. So this one has some degree of Sangiovese. I can't even, I've looked it up in so many different places, and the only place that I saw where the varietals are broken down is in Vivino. So, grain of salt there, but it's got Sangiovese. It's got Petit Verdot in it. It's got Syrah in it. It's got
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cab Franc. I mean, it's got all kinds of stuff in it.
It's got 8 different varietals.
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
It's like somebody is trying to shoot with a shotgun. Somebody will like something.
But I mean, it's got a crown on it, so let's
you're going to have to give me one of my glasses. I left it down.
Oh man, but
I'm curious to
Ketchup
try
or
this.
hot
And
dog?
thank you, ma'am.
All right, give me your glass, Yana. But I mean, let's see if it's worth this crown, this royalty, that's on here.
I'm not going to lie. As a wine guy, and you start getting 8, 9 varietals into a bottle, I'm going, okay, why? What do you? It's kind of like you're making a recipe, and you're like, okay, this is good. No, add this. No, add this.
Yeah.
No, add some more of this. And I'm like, okay.
But
It could be fantastic.
You know what? You say that, but a
I
lot
like
of time,
it already.
You
Said I like it already.
Get the hell out of here!
I just rinsed out my glass.
You do?
I do like it.
All right. Oh, see, we got to get the good
The pour.
the pour on the mic here. Solid. Ooh, even a glass.
Plenty.
Yeah. All right. Yay! Here we go.
It's lighter than maybe.
Oh,
Well, no.
Great.
All right. Let's get into this bad boy.
all right.
It is lighter in color.
It is. I just did a side-by-side comparison. It's definitely lighter.
Way lighter. What's the vintage on this? 17. I can see that.
17.
I can tell you my rinsing the glass. You gave me a little bit. I swirled, rinsed the glass. To me, what jumped out at me initially was the acid on this wine. There's a lot of acid on this wine.
Okay. Let's
It's not my first impression
No,
at
what
all.
was yours?
Sweeter.
sweeter.
Really? Shouldn't be sweet. Maybe more fruit.
Okay, yes, I was told that I am confusing those two, like fruity.
Oh, I do this all the time. Yes, I did this like so bad in the France episode, and I was like, I sound like a total moron.
Not at all.
But,
I think Mary was the one who told me, like, okay, there's a difference between sweet and fruity. I'm like, thank you, Mary.
this does have
You're
more
right.
like a.
And Mary knows.
Mary knows.
This on the nose, it's got a nice like strawberry kind of thing going on.
Big time red fruit. Raspberry. I get a lot of raspberry.
That's
on
real
this.
nice.
I like.
You like?
I do.
I really like the nose
Yes,
on this.
very berry.
The nose is great.
Yeah, man. The nose comes off as a like real hot weather. Like you could drink a nice red wine and still be okay.
And this is still a bit of a fresh crack. It's not.
Yeah.
We just opened it and we poured it in the glass.
Yeah.
So it's not been. We'll give it a few minutes to kind of
Loosen up a little bit.
see if it kind of changes a little bit. I took a little sip of what it is now, and tell me what you think. I get the red fruit, but the acid is what jumped out at me.
It is like a lot of that acid. Might be just a little tight right now, but
I think it's tight.
but
Definitely get some tannins on this one.
yeah,
More tannins than we had on the two Passos.
I actually really like this wine. So far, so good.
Lots of tannins.
I must be drinking.
But it
like
is a 17.
different
so.
wine
Yeah,
than you guys are.
it's a younger
Yeah.
wine. Probably needs to set up a few more years.
Or just open up another 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Might be fine.
But I think it's pretty good.
I think it's very good.
And
It's a completely different profile. You can tell
Yeah.
there's a lot more in here
yeah,
than we're in the. And to me, I agree with you. There's a lot more fruit punching forward on this.
And like red berries.
yeah,
Big time. That's
yeah.
why I say raspberry big for me.
Yeah.
What I lose a little bit so far, maybe let's let it open up and kind of loosen up a little bit, is the kind of that balance and structure to the wine. Because the fruit is so big and forward that I'm not getting all the other subtleties of the structure of the wine like I did on the Passos.
Yeah. True.
That'd be a little doggy burp.
Yeah, that was a dog burp back there. So if you pick that up,
Is that Zoe?
yeah,
It is
that's our real ladylike dog over there. That
Hey, let loose, Zoe.
she had a good meal, I guess.
She had some beef short ribs.
You know, though, the acid is really nice, and the tannins and the acid and everything.
What's the alcohol in this?
That's
has
a
got
good question. I bet it's
feel like-
higher.
yeah.
Where is it?
I'm thinking it might be a little lower.
You think so? 14.5.
It is 14.5. I was going to say 14.
Yeah. So it's not like extremely low.
No. That's higher when you think of old world wines. Usually they're 12 and a half to 13 and a half. Although people will tell you with, climate change, they're getting hotter, so they're getting, more sugars, more alcohol.
Yeah. I think I like it.
It's got a great nose.
Really does. Real berry, real fresh fruit. Like real,
It's red fruit through and through. There is nothing else.
it's like you went to
But see, here's
Like a strawberry
and
farm
that's
or
where
something.
I'm missing getting things like cocoa or some oak or some leather or a little earth, with some dirt or some minerality from granite or something. I'm not getting anything like that. It's just fruit. Now it's nice fruit, but it's only fruit.
I think I'm starting to get a little bit more leather, like leather tobacco notes on the finish. Than I was before, and maybe that's just needed a little bit more time.
But it's nice wine. So your thought process was just find a cool bottle.
Yeah, is that wrong?
Not
It's my
necessarily.
husband for you.
Hey,
It seems to have worked.
hey, a lot of producers in California and really around the world have figured out that having a cool bottle sells a lot of wine.
Yeah, I was going to say, people really think the label makes a difference, and I kind of questioned that until tonight.
I'm glad I made you question yourself. I really like this wine. I actually think this is quite a nice wine.
It is a nice wine. I think it's a very nice wine.
It's got a nice
Yana keeps looking at me like I'm going to say something.
You know what I
say something.
So it's got kind of a ruby color to it. That's. And my birthday is in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Leo, and so my
birthday wine for you.
My birthstone is a ruby.
Oh.
So maybe there's something to that too.
Wow.
we really
want to
pour that on a limb now. Yeah.
That nose is great though. I really like that.
I'm still think it's a little tight. I mean, to me, I'm not getting as much on the palate. Are you?
I'm starting to get more.
Okay.
Of the leathery quality.
But just talking about like mouthfeel, the bodiness of the wine. When you have it on your mid palate, are you getting where you go, ooh, that feels good. I like that on my palate.
It's a little thin,
yeah.
And it's very tannic.
Yeah.
But like I said, I like tannic. In some cases. So, I think it's pretty good. I would be real interested in trying this with food. I bet this would be a wine that could potentially work well with the salad or something like that.
Well, I think that, but I also think because it's a 17, in another year to 3 years, I think this could be really good.
Yeah, and that might be the case. This is really just straight off the shelf.
Yeah, I think the tannins are going to help let that fruit out once they start to soften a little bit, and this is going to be a really nice wine here in the next.
Yeah.
Did you buy two so you could put one away?
No, but he's probably going to go back because I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. Well, as soon as our, place that's going to have our new wine fridge is completed, then we will we can buy one and lay one down.
Because putting one of these in the wine cellar would be, I think,
it would be a good.
Take some notes now, like we are, and then kind of comparing that to drinking this in a year or two, and
I'll never forget this cool bottle.
Yeah, the cool bottle. Yeah, but what's in the bottle matters.
I guess. No, I do think that this with a little age would be really, really a nice wine.
So we were talking earlier, and we were talking about that, typically when you guys go and say, hey, we need to pick up some bottles of wine, you stayed in the California region.
Yeah.
Paso or Napa or Sonoma or wherever. But now after doing the French episode and kind of getting into the Italian with some of the Super Tuscans and a little bit more about Sangiovese, we haven't really dove into that yet, but we will. You feel like you're a little bit more comfortable to go, you know what, I can go pick out a region and kind of know, what I'm going to get in the bottle based on that particular region and start shopping for some wines to explore through.
I think so. I'm all over this now. I can't wait. I can't wait to just explore more of these wines.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Yeah.
No reaction from Yana.
Yeah, Yana's getting stared down by the cat over here.
But that's the fun thing about wine that I think is getting people to go, okay, now instead of somebody just going, well, try the wine when you come to my house, it's about you guys going, okay, I like that enough to go, I want to start going out and, just kind of picking up, other than it just being a cool bottle, really digging into what's in the bottle and picking up some wine.
That's too complex for Matt.
Yeah,
he's all about that.
He does it with whiskey.
Shallow
he can do it with wine.
surface.
My simple brain only operates this way. No, in all truthfulness, though, today after doing some research, watching a lot of YouTubes, listening to some podcasts, going into into the Italian area of the store, I'm less intimidated. I feel like I know a little bit of something, so I can go buy something and kind of know what I'm what I'm going to get.
Yeah, and I would say, in Old World, like we talked about in the last podcast, learning the region so you know what kind of to expect in the bottle is the most important thing. Producers is so hard. There's so many of them. But when you find a bottle you like, keep a journal, make a spreadsheet, take pictures, whatever your process is to keep track of that with some notes that either you liked or you didn't, because it's important. We talked about if you don't like something, it's important that you note that so you don't buy that bottle again.
Yeah.
But doing that, then you'll start to kind of build up this, information database, and you'll be more, prepared to buy good bottles from whatever region you're looking to buy from.
And then when you walk into a party with like a bunch of our friends, and you bring a bottle, they're not looking down on you. They're like, "Whoa, hey, rock star!"
People in our group might look down on somebody bringing a bottle. That happens.
No comment.
You guys are so judgmental.
Hey, just.
I'm asking a question. I'm not judging.
Here's my thing. As long as you bring it out of the bag, like that's all that matters to me.
I'm a fan of bringing that box of wine. It's said to last 30 days if you keep it in the fridge.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That, like a Boda box or something like that, or yeah. I hear Franzia has a nice
Zinfandel.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, dude, this was a super fun episode. I am like jazzed about more Old World, more Italian wines, more French wines.
Well, maybe we'll pick another French region and really dive deep. But anyway, we're going to start getting more into wine. We've done a couple of episodes now. We probably need to get a food one coming up. We'll let people know to be on the lookout for an episode upcoming, diving into pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, getting deep into pizza, because I think so many Americans, and I don't want to speak for people in other countries, Italy specifically, when Americans think pizza, they just think
Domino's.
Or they just think something quick and easy and eat it, it's good and done. Instead of really understanding and having, like you said, Domino's or Papa John's or Pizza Hut versus some local pizza shop that makes it the right way, and diving into people hear grandma's pizza, and I guarantee there's a lot of people that go, I don't know what grandma's pizza is. Sheet pan pizza, Detroit style pizza, Chicago deep dish, and in Chicago people think it's deep dish. It's known for that, but that's not what most Chicagoans eat.
They don't go for that.
No. So we're going to do a deep dive in pizza, which I think will be a lot of fun. And when you have pizza and we talk about pizza, guess what else?
Bubbles.
We get to drink wine.
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
well,
Bubbles.
her
Bubbles
and her
life.
thing. I mean, I guess.
Okay, whatever. Pizza and bubbles.
I know. We love it.
Okay.
We love it.
Go.
Guilty pleasure.
So
letting everybody in.
That'll be fun on that episode because I've never had pizza and bubbles. Pizza and wine, but never
You have
bubbles.
not?
So.
Oh,
But I think that's going to be a fun upcoming episode that people should look out for.
man, I got a
I
great wine for
can't
you to try
wait.
with pizza.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. We'll pop
Can't
some
wait.
Zinfandel too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a fun episode.
Oh yeah, man.
I enjoyed doing that one.
Thank you everybody for listening.
Well, you already said it, man. You go ahead and close out the show.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. Until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.
Cheers, people.